Match Bingo introduces Live Football Bingo, where events in every English Premier League game can win you prizes for a £1 card. And the fastest full house of the season is worth £20,000. Head to matchbingo.co.uk for more information. Over 18s only. Be gamble aware. Get yourself over to matchbingo.co.uk for more information. Hello again, my friends, and you are my friends, and welcome to your last ITFC Matchday Live preview show on Talking Town for this season. Obviously, our last in League One. Looking forward to what we're going to bring to you next year in the Championship. Has it sunk in yet? Are you still on cloud nine? Let me know how you're feeling this evening. A little bit of an earlier time than normal, so do apologise. But if you're watching us live or on catch up, whether you're somebody who's here live or somebody who's joined us thinking, I thought it was 8:30, hit the like button, please. That'd really be appreciated. Subscribe if you're brand new. Over 4,500. We had like 120 new subscribers in the last couple of days. Town have hit the big time. Well, the semi-big time. It's not quite back where we belong. It's on the way. And obviously, Talking Town is hitting the subscriber trail as well. So hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so. Tonight, what we'll do is we'll run through a couple of the news items that's been in the press this week. Has it been a busy news time for Town? Has it? If you know of anything, do let me know. Nothing sort of springs to mind. But if you do know of anything in the news regarding Town this week, do let me know. And then of course we'll look to Fleetwood. So a couple of comments. Phil Blundell said he can't wait for the new championship season to start. Bluey is still watching Town in 25. That reminds me, I've not actually finished that yet. I've still got 5 minutes left. Shocking. Evening, John. Hope you're well. Mike Baker, tickets for the Fleetwood game are being exchanged for a lot of money, I see. Absolutely. Got that on my list here to speak about when we get to the Fleetwood part of the show. Tickets going for sort of silly money, really. Phil's get promoted from League One is a new kind of wonderful. Good evening, Anthony. I hope you're well and enjoy your trip to Fleetwood. I'm sure you're going. Joe, it's like WWF, WCW in the late 90s with you and BM going head to head. I didn't know we were. I thought they went on. I didn't think they did Wednesdays. Finch's Wrestling, evening to Almighty Blues. Good evening, talking James Warren Elmer. Yes, Talking Town. Love to see that. James Warren Elmer. Norwich fans are scared of what we are achieving here. Only way is up. And Zurich, we're on our way. We're on our way to the Premier League. We're on our way. Love that. Right. Let's get the person who's going to spend the next 30 minutes or whatever it is with me. I haven't got his thoughts yet on promotion. We shared a massive bear hug outside of Portman Road. The best hug I've had this year. Let's hear what he's going to say. The peaky one, Mark Tuxford.
Well, I mean, I try and be positive. I try and look at it from that kind of outlook a lot of the time.
Good evening, sir. How are we?
Yeah, good self.
Good man. Yeah, well, last time I saw you, you were smiling. A little bit more broader than that, but you were smiling. You're still smiling. Has it hit yet? Have you sunk in? Have you stopped consuming the content? Because everyone's on cloud nine, it seems. Where are you with it at the moment? Town promoted to the Championship.
I don't know if it has sunk in yet. And I think maybe it will probably sink in, when the fixtures come out, when you're looking at the fixtures for the new season and things like that potentially. But yeah, I mean, the weekend was unreal. The game was unreal. I think Mark Ashton said it where you couldn't pick a better day for it in terms of weather, the result, the atmosphere itself. So yeah, it's great to be a Town fan at the moment. And, I think it hasn't finished yet, if you know what I mean. I think we're destined for sort of bigger and better things.
It hasn't finished yet. You're absolutely spot on the money. Could be a title decider. Well, it is a title decider coming up. One way or the other, the title will be decided. Anthony Steele's going to Blackpool. Are you going to the game this weekend, or are you going to be still in the Suffolk postcode area?
No, I was in the Essex postcode area.
My bad. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, my bad. Fincher says budgie bashing, season smashing. Can't wait for the Championship. Is that your favourite fixture for next season? Is that the one you're most looking forward to, do you think?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's good to hopefully get Derby Day back, so it'll be good for that point of view. But I'm also looking forward to if Sunderland don't go up this year, then that's another good game for me because I've got family supports Sunderland. So yeah, I mean, there's some great fixtures there, and a lot of games or a lot of away grounds that I've not done yet. So I'd like to do a few more away trips next season, and yeah, push the totalizer up if you like.
Love that. And obviously, you're hoping Sunderland stay down because you've got family that are Sunderland fans. You went there last year last year when we were in League One together. So you'd like that to stay on the calendar, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like them to do well in their family, so I want their team to do well. But there's a little part of me that wants to sort of play that game again because every time we played them recently, we haven't been that great, and I think we've lost quite a few. So it'd be good to play them now. I think because I think there'll be more of a match for them. So yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So there's been a couple of comments coming out of the press or out of the club recently. They've got fans excited. Good evening, Crunch. I hope you're well. This, first of all, from Mr. Ashton. Let me play this to you, Mark. You may have heard it.
Everyone's excited for this evening. Are you looking forward to it?
It is. We've got about 350 people here at Milson's.
Yeah.
The reality is we could have sold it twice over. We're going to have to find bigger venues. Portland Road's packed on Saturday, almost 30,000. We're going to have to look at the capacity at that stadium because the fan base of this football club is just growing all the time. And I refuse to put a lid on how big this football club can become. The opportunity lies ahead and, we want to take it.
That comment, as you can imagine, got the fan base excited. Magna Stand are going to have the executive boxes finished, finally finished that piece between the North Stand and the Magna Stand. What do you make of Ashton's comments there, Tux? Because it set a lot of hearts racing, a lot of pulses flying through the window.
Yeah, I think when we spoke before on the channel about increasing the capacity of the stadium, I think we've always thought that it'd probably be the Cobbold Stand that either has to be knocked down or done something to it to make it better. So I'd be surprised if it was other sort of areas, to be fair. But when I heard the comment, it was more, I don't want us to kind of repeat what we did when we went up to the Premier League, where it was that first season where we then thought, right, let's expand the stadium with the North and the South Stand, and that in a way was our sort of detriment, if you like. We're a much better run club now, I'd say, but I think it's still worth considering that let's pack out the stadium as it is at the moment. Season ticket sales are through the roof, so I just think we take it kind of one step at a time, if you like. And I think I just look back on that sort of period maybe a little bit, but otherwise it is exciting that they're considering that anyway, because there's going to be a lot of fans next season that won't be able to see Town, that maybe can't afford a season ticket, but would still want to go to the odd game here and there. So
there was a few sort of mitigating factors sort of away from the stands in terms of the time period you're talking about. The ITV digital collapsing being one of two or three, and it wasn't necessarily the stands. I believe that sort of caused it, but I can understand that traditionally, as an omen, if you like, when this club develops something, a stadium, we then some rocky times, some harder times, and I get what you're saying, and sort of Phil says any stadium increase won't happen until we're close or playing Premier League football. It's just an interesting time, I guess, because we all know the Cobble Stand eventually will be redeveloped. That's the stand that's next, if you like, in line for that. But the timing's really interesting because it didn't need to be said, if anything, and by saying it, I don't know. It's a funny sort of time to say, and I would have just liked to have seen us a couple of seasons at 21,000 fans, 22,000 fans. We know the hunger and the appetite are there, but let's get a couple of consolidation seasons that are not 14,000 fans. I don't know. It's just a weird sort of time. What do you think it was? It was the moment taken away, or was Ashton more deliberate in that, and then something more afoot?
I think he's quite. He does plan what he says. I think he's quite methodical in that sense. But I think there's some of it that he's obviously riding on the crest of a wave at the moment, and there's lots of fans that want tickets, want to go to the games and stuff like that. And we talk about it now, but as Phil Blundell said, I don't think we're going to be doing anything really until we get in the Premier League and we're really probably an established side. But let's see how we get on in the Championship first, because that's the main thing. We need to do the business on the pitch before anything really can be considered from that point of view. So yeah.
The exciting thing is that you've got the game changer crew, the Three Lions, and then obviously the Arizona Pension Trust as well. The ownership is there. The foundation in terms of money is there, but also each lion brings its own speciality background, if you like. And there's a couple of people on that are probably going to be really key, and if they're not, they'll know somebody who's really key on real estate, etc. That is going to really help with this and really be able to key in and zone in. And looking at their previous projects, they've always wanted to develop sort of retail leisure around the stadium. And it's a really ideal location because it's not far from the ground and you from the town centre. And you can really do that here, couldn't you? And you could really make that cobbled and that surrounding area there really something quite special and unique.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you just go back to, what Marcus Evans left us with. He left us with a stadium that was, pretty much run down. We all love an old ground, but it was awful. In terms of like going in, sitting where you were sitting, but also from the outside of it. So it is refreshing to kind of hear that, the stadium is going to be looked after as well, because all aspects of the club need to be looked after, because it just wasn't previously under the other sort of tenure, really.
Which is where the ground evolution comes in, with the Magna Stand executive suites being finally completed. Is ground evolution one of those things that as fans we get naturally excited about, or because there's some fans that are trepidatious about ground evolution and they like things kept the same, whatever it might be, the look of it, whatever the feel of it. But is ground evolution now the most exciting thing? With the pitch and everything that we've got going on away from the playing team.
Yeah, well, I think every club goes through that, or will go through that at some stage, because structures only last for a certain. Yeah, well, structures only last for a certain amount of time before they need, either being rebuilt or improved or whatever else. So, what football was, probably in the 80s and 90s isn't what it is today. Like the amount of crowds that we get now. So, those stadiums need to be improved. And, Portman Road is an old ground. It's an old fortress. So, we need to look at that as we go. But, going back to your point about, do people want to see that? I don't know. I mean, some people don't like change. Some people like to be sat in the same seat they have done for, 40, 50 years maybe. So they don't want to change that. And I do understand that to a certain degree, but I guess you just got to move with the club in that sense, and hopefully the club will respect, who, say if the Cobbold gets knocked down and rebuilt and stuff like that, then hopefully the club, and I'm sure they will, be respectful of who has sat there previously and who's had season tickets there for a long time.
Do you think that's also why they're capping it at 21,000? Obviously, the Cobbold holds roughly around 7,000. We know the stadium can hold up to 29. You're going to have a couple of thousand in terms of away fans, of course, but is that why we're sort of capping numbers to allow the capacity to have that renovation eventually take part? Do you think?
Yeah, possibly. I think it's. I don't know what the cap is there for, to be honest, but I imagine it would just to allow those that maybe can't afford a season ticket to actually, still go to games. The odd fan that that can only make a certain amount of games per year to still go, I guess, but. Some of those are probably going to be for sponsorship and stuff like that. So, I don't know. I don't know the kind of real reason behind it, really. But, to even suggest that we've got 21,000 season tickets is just mind-blowing, really, when you think about it was, 3 or 4 years ago, we weren't getting anywhere near that in terms of an actual full stadium. So,
Big time. Harps, anyone know any details about Town TV? We've got quite a few comments on Town TV. John B said looking forward to Town TV, although I always thought the opposition commentary. No new information has been released in regards to Town TV. When I have any information in regards to Town TV, obviously it'll be on social media, I'm sure, but we'll put it on the show. We'll mention it in one of our talking points. Anything we do know from this point over the summer, to keep your eyes and ears peeled. We've got Finches says game changer, wants to develop the value of the club on and off the field. I think development is more needed. They want to ride this wave. The potential is there. Stephen, I would argue if he needs doing a studio with the hotel and stuff, and it is ready when we get there. There's a hotel now being built on the corner, obviously not by us, but there is one now there. Travel Lodge. I'm sure that will get used in a few years' time by away Premier League fans. Craig, you got a strike when the iron's hot. Cobble does look very dated now. Absolutely, it is. It is dated. It's the greatest stand in English football, but it is dated. Zurich says, hope Glenn gets hired for. I would have thought Glenn's a shoo-in for Town TV commentary. I would have thought they would build on the year they've had with him and the success that it's been. I would have thought he is a shoo-in. We've got a comment here from Mike D. Knock down Cobble and build single tier super stand. I don't see it being a single tier, just because the biggest single tier ever built isn't big enough for I think the outlay it's going to cost. I think it's going to be a 2 or 3 tier. I really do, but I haven't seen any plans. I mean I don't know.
I think Ashton, when someone raised it at the last AGM, I think somebody asking the question about it, and I think he was a fan of kind of the one stand approach, because I think he said something about West Brom had it or something like that, one of his clubs. So I kind of wouldn't be surprised if we saw that, but I just don't know how that would work, because obviously they're going to have to build upon the road, out the back of Cobbold. So yeah, it might happen. I don't know.
Are you able to have executive boxes really though in a single tier? Is that something you're able to really do? I mean, obviously, because a new stand will have to pay for itself, so you're going to be thinking of really high number executive suites. How do you do that? 2 tiers at least, 3 tiers. If you want to, you've got that space behind the road you just mentioned. I also think a single tier along the side would almost take us back to looking a bit small time.
Well,
in modern football, that is, compared to the super structures you see, and we will be playing Tottenham one day. Believe it, we will.
Well, because I'll probably get relegated.
Okay, yeah, Tottenham get battered everywhere they go. Did you see Xhaka, by the way, with THB on his tracksuit on Sky? Did you see that?
Yeah.
That was.
I mean, going back to your point, I don't know. I'm not sure if I agree, to be honest. I don't know if that it would make us small time. I think it's more about the atmosphere. What's the word?
Acoustics.
Acoustics. So I think that's really what's come into play there. Because I think I was having a chat about this to someone on Saturday, where do the away fans need to move? Where does the singing section need to be within the ground? Because when you look at like away grounds, they tend to have it kind of quite central, and ours is more in the side, obviously in the north currently, but even still, the singing section is then going to be in the corner again. So I don't know where that's going to be, whether there's sort of contingency plans for that in the future, but and that might come in as part of a new sort of stand potentially. I don't know, but
absolutely, yeah. We'll have to wait and see. Harp says, firmly believe game of 20 will improve the stadium. They have proven track record after a new stadium has just been built for Phoenix Rising. Right, we've got a couple of people waiting to come on. We'll bring on just a second. One more thing that's caught my eye this week or recently from Mr. Ashton, which I want to play you. You've probably seen it. It's about 20 odd seconds long. It's a PFA. I'm not quite sure what to do with the PFA that it is. The PFA conversation with Ipswich Town CEO Mark Ashton. I will just play it and let it go.
It has a heart and it has a soul that's linked to the ownership group. But when a player joins this football club, I take them for a walk around the pitch and I talk to them about their involvement in community, what is going to be expected from them. If you don't want to sign up to that, if you don't want to engage and genuinely work with our local community, it doesn't matter how good you are on the grass, join another football club. This football club's very different.
And there we go. So what are your thoughts here in that then, Tux?
I'll be honest, I'm not surprised, because I think we kind of know what Ashton is all about now. And, for me, he's probably been the best signing this club has made in, I don't know, God knows how long now. So, we play the football on the pitch, and obviously we get promoted and things like that. But actually, when you think about it, this club is actually led by him, in the sense that, yes, he probably doesn't pick the players, because obviously McKenna does that. But, he's there. He's always there to greet the players. He's always there to make sure they're fine and all that sort of stuff. And you can kind of see that. And the fact that, he comes out and says things like that. And, you take it back to when he was first appointed, seeing dust on the chairs in the office and things like that. Like, it's just finer little details that really make him who he is, I think. And I think we are really incredibly lucky to have him, and the fact that, you know, it's not a coincidence that when he's arrived, shit gets done. Do you know what I mean? So I just, I'm so pleased that we've got him, and the fact that he is a massive part of this club going forward for me.
He is the biggest difference between game changer and Marcus Evans, because Marcus Evans had money. He put a lot of money into the football club. Game changer have money, and I put a lot of money in the football club. The biggest difference is the game changer crew immediately recognised we need somebody within the world of football that knows their onions, knows how to get shit done, knows everything there is to know that we don't, because it's not our expertise. Whereas Marcus Evans, if you look over his tenure, every chief executive was a, and I don't mean this any disrespect, a nobody in football.
Yeah. Well, they were a mouthpiece at the end of the day for Marcus Evans, and it wasn't that they were actually leading the operation. As I say, they were just more of a mouthpiece. Whereas actually Ashton, you know, it might help that obviously they're not in the country a lot, so obviously they kind of trust Ashton just to get on with it. But obviously you've then got somebody like Mike O'Leary who's there as well. But generally, he actually he controls what goes on with the club, and obviously everyone reports to him. You know, he doesn't. I've not seen him talk down to people and stuff like that. So he's really a well-respected person within the game, but also at the club as well. So I think, as I say, I think he's been one of the best signings we've made probably in the last kind of 10 to 15 years, in my opinion. And, you know, you don't say that a lot about, you know, someone that isn't on the pitch, if you get what I'm saying. It's more that he really has transformed this club. And obviously, you know, game changer put their money where their mouth is, but, you know, he has led this operation.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Really shrewd from Game Changer. That's probably their best decision they've made, other than the buying the football club, of course. Zurich says PFA interviewed him. It's 33 minutes long, basically talking about his journey, what makes him tick day to day. Really good piece. And Parry does say full version on YouTube, or the link is on Discord if you're a Talking Town fifth stander. If you're not, how do you become one? Well, hit the join button on YouTube, or become, or head to our Ko-Fi and sign yourself up. Cancel any point you like, and the link is available on the YouTube community tab. The Stone Market Legends in the room. He's a bit late, so that's all right, Eddie. We'll forgive you for that, my man. But welcome in all the same. Hope you're well. Mike D went straight in with running towards adversity. # Brent. And Carol, 100% with you on that. Always keep the public with you. Mostly, I know he's brilliant. Works his ass off. Can be a tad cringy though. He sort of follows his comment up there. Paul P. Game Changer got Ashton. Evans got Clegg. I think, to be fair, Evans got Leo Neal. That was a more bizarre one for personally. Finches, a bit bigger. Exeter Packman Road season tickets sold out already. Made the ownership move in that direction of more rapid redevelopment. James, random question, but that's now the championship. Do you think Game Changer have made their money? But absolutely not, James. Do you think? How would you answer that one before I bring in the fisherman?
I don't think they have. I mean, obviously, Ashton talked about the fact that it was kind of player changeover in the sense that, you know, what they spend, they've kind of recouped in players like Dizelle and, you know, Downs or something like that. But generally, I don't know. I don't think they have at the moment. I think they put a lot of investment when you look at the training ground. You know, obviously the ground now taking shape as well. So, yeah, I wouldn't imagine so at the moment.
I mean, we made a £22 million loss last year, didn't we?
Yeah,
Was that from memory? So, I mean, and that was obviously the year before. So, what are we looking at now in terms of what they've pumped in? I'd say easily early 30 millions, easy, with the new pitch and everything else.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what comes out of it. Yeah,
it will be, and then because obviously that's not championship money, is it? In terms of being promoted from the league below. So. It's a good question, though, James. That's a good question. We'll put that to the boys on Friday. That's the sort of question they love to get their teeth into. Steve, I don't think it's cost anything to be fair. The money they're spending will be profit from the pension fund, but it's got to be paid. It's got to be paid back, Steve. It ain't monopoly money. It's got to be paid back. So Ashton, doesn't matter how good you are on the grass. If you don't want to get out in the community, we don't want you here. It's the fisherman. What do you make of Ashton's comments there?
Oh yeah, no, he's bang on. Obviously I've had time to calm down from the weekend. My voice has slowly come back. You know, it was such a great atmosphere from, I can't remember. Well, I'm thankful there's a lot of young generation fans now that have experienced the types of highs that I have over the years, you know. because there's a lot out there that haven't. And, you know, when you talk about infrastructure and when you talk about, I mean, Evans, look, every time I spoke about Evans in the past to a certain fan base, oh, he's keeping the club afloat. He's keeping the club afloat. We were sinking into absurdity. We really were under Evans, and you know, his appointment, Clegg. I mean, Olympics. He was Olympic Committee CEO. I mean, what does he know about football? You know, what we have now is we have a foundation, a strong foundation in Game Changer. We now have a blueprint, a blueprint from Mark Ashton, and he's implementing that plan. And as much as, look, I you know, there was a time after the Bristol Rovers game where I was questioning, you know, Kieran McKenna's ability to you know, coach and at this level and stuff, and credit to him. You know, he's turned it around, gone on a unbelievable run, and we are promoted to the championship. And now we're in the championship. I was watching funny enough, I was watching a podcast today where this lad was talking about Plymouth and Ipswich, and he was saying the FIFA have got this computer model to see where we'd end up next season. They've got Plymouth getting relegated again, and they've got us finished 13th, which I find, well, look, I mean, if we finish 13th, we're not relegated, are we? But I think we're capable of getting more.
But is that based on the current squad as things stand?
Possibly. I mean,
it must be, because you can't anticipate who they're going to sign. So
no, yeah, of course it is based on the current squad. But
so on that basis, Mike, isn't that good? Doesn't that mean we're 3 or 4 quality additions away from being, you know, according to the computer game, it is a computer game, but isn't that 3 or 4 quality additions away from being already a top 6 side? I mean, I saw some social media chat, Mike, sorry to cut across you a couple of times, about the playoff team and people going through the playoff team versus this team and putting certain players above the League One side. Is anyone in this team currently that you'd put above the playoff 2000 team like some were doing?
No, not in a million years. No. I don't care what they say. That playoff side was just phenomenal. And they proved that in the Premier League the following season, and they proved it in Europe again. So, you know, no, I'm sorry, but no.
I don't understand that argument, though. I don't understand the argument about the fact that, you know, do we have a better squad than we did when we won the playoffs in 2000? Like, it's a different time. Different football was played then.
Yeah.
So I just don't understand how anyone can sort of answer that, really.
Yeah. Good.
Well, you say different football, but it was football that was played.
Yeah,
you know,
it was football, but it was a different time, though, wasn't it? It was a different time. Like, you know, football was a different game then.
Well, I'd argue it wasn't really, because football back then was a passing game, pretty much what we played under Burley. So
but football has evolved, Mike. You can't sort of dispute that.
What's that?
Football has evolved. You know, like if you look at football from
but stripping back, it's still the basics, isn't it? It's only formations that have become. You know, if you go back to United's, United's era and stuff, when everybody started copying that. Then Chelsea were doing well, and they were doing like a 4-5-1 system. Everybody started copying that. Now it's just this Liverpool are doing well with the system. Man City are doing well with their system, and everybody's copying that. Football doesn't evolve; it changes. And this is where I think people get completely confused with what football is. Look, the game is faster. There's no two ways about it. It's played on bowling greens now rather than like mud fields of the 70s and 80s. But 90s and 2000s or early 2000s, you know, they were bowling greens back then. The pitches have got, you know, they've advanced with 3G, 4G, and you know, mixed with artificial and grass. But the passing game of football, Liverpool were doing passing and moving in the 70s, for Christ's sake. You know, and they were doing it on you know, I mean, Ipswich in the 70s had one of the best pitches in the country. So, you know, and so, you know, when we talk about the modern game, it's a modern game to a point, but, you know, I would argue that I think the players of 2000 were a phenomenal side. Not as good as the 81 side. There's no two ways about it. But you know, you can't compare a League One side to a side that finished 5th in the Premier League. You just can't do it.
Fair point, Mike. Before I let you go and bring Phil in, anything else you want to bring to the still promotion party at the moment? Anything you want to bring?
Well, I think, like I said, you talking about 4 or 5 players. I was talking about this to a couple of Ipswich Town fans today at work, and they said, "Where do you think Ipswich will finish next season?" I think, well, if we're 4 or 5 players, I think we need 4 or 5 what I call low Premiership, high. Look, I'd go for Shay. If Southampton going down, I'd go for Shay Adams. There's probably a few players. Oh, look, I hope Leicester stay up so we can keep Hurst. I think he's a very good player, very good quality player. I think, like I said, if we can get sort of 4 or 5 top quality players in, I think there's a bloody good chance we could do back-to-back promotions. And look, if it doesn't happen, I'm not worried. We're just back in the Championship. I'm happy to be there, Norwich next season, stuff like that. My worry is, are we going to do what we've done before? Redevelop the stadium and at a cost of, our league status? That's my worry, because it's happened twice before. And, and right now, the Churchman needs, look, as much as I love the stadium, I love the stand, I do love it. It's an old stand. It's well past its sell-by date now, and it needs developing. I think it's going to be a 2-tier system. It's going to go right back onto the road, isn't it? So, and I think if we can get to 35 to 38,000 seater stadium, that's ideal.
I agree.
Hopefully, like I say, we as fans can sort of look. I'm looking for. I can't wait till next season to start now. I FaceTimed my brother earlier. On Alexa, and we were. He goes, "When are we going to football next?" I said, "Well, we'll be going next time. If there's a friendly, we'll go to it, and then start the season will be there." And I'm buzzing for next season now. I can't wait for the season to start. I can't wait for that draw. Who we get the first game, home game of the season? Who we're going to get? And I just think that we deserve this. And like Tuxer said, like many players, like yourself, Martin, and other fans have said, Mark Ashton. There was a few question marks, from Bristol City supporters, stuff like. But you cannot say anything negative. He's done everything he said he would do, and more.
Yep. Yes, no, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Everything. Training ground's been improved, updated. Everything. All the equipment in there has been updated. The ground is. We're going to get new pitch. We got new screen. Everything is going in the right direction. And I know. I've had Norwich fans say, "Oh, yeah, but what goes up must come down." Yeah, okay, we can get up to the top, and then we can sort of consolidate ourselves. But I say, live the dream. That's Ipswich Town right now, because we've had so many shit years, and now
I think it's about ambition, isn't it, Mike? I mean, at the end of the day, I think what have we done in the last really sort of 20 years when you think about it? Since getting relegated from the Premier League, we've had 2 miserable sort of semi-finals against West Ham. Haven't really done an awful lot since then. Obviously we lost to Norwich, didn't we, in the other semi? So 3 semis out of 20 years worth, stagnating obviously in the Championship, getting relegated to League One. The club was on its arse. Quite frankly, if a Norwich fan says, "Yeah, okay, well, what goes up must come down," well, I want a bit of ambition. Like, this club has got ambition now. So the fact that we could go up to the Championship and maybe get into the Premier League, and if we got relegated in our first season in the Premier League, well, happy days, because that's what you want.
Perfect. Sorry, you frozen me there. Sorry.
What killed us is in the 2000 season, 2002 season when we were relegated, was the fact that ITV crashed.
The digital collapse, yeah, absolutely.
The whole digital thing collapsed. We lost any money that we would be getting, and that's what killed us as a club. When you got scum up the road sitting there going, "Oh yeah, we've been a Premiership side more times than you have," and but you've been a yo-yo club. When you get up, you spend no bloody money.
Absolutely.
You just keep using the parachute payments, and I think the parachute payments should bloody stop, if I'm honest.
Well, they are in discussions to do that. Mike, appreciate you coming on. We'll speak to you again very soon. Look after yourselves. And obviously, in terms of a home friendly that Mike was mentioning there, I think Ashton did mention previously with the pitch renovations, probably not going to happen this year. Going to come to Fleetwood very shortly. Get a couple of comments from Phil. Phil, welcome in. You've heard the show so far. What's on your mind this evening?
3 very quick points to start off with. One's about the stadium redevelopment. One's about Mr. Ashton's comments recently, and the way certain clubs, including ourselves, play our football. I think as far as the stadium redevelopment is concerned, it's probably not going to happen for another 2 or 3 seasons at least, I would have thought. And probably when it does happen, I think what I would like to see is more of the same design as the Sir Bobby and Sir Alf Ramsden with a 2-tier system that kind of overhangs the road somewhat. And I'm pretty sure that we'll need to ask the council to just, readjust the roads, just push it back maybe, 10 or 12 feet, just to allow enough space for us to lay a big enough foundation to cope with a 2-tier system, which hopefully I'm hoping would increase the capacity above 35,000 for my liking. The second point is about Mr. Ashton's comments. I think what stands out from that 20-second clip that you showed was more than 10 years of corporate know-nothing. And with Mr. Ashton's comments, he's firmly reiterating the point. With any new players that come into the club now, what will their contribution to community will be? He is all about the community spirit, whereas Mr. Evans and Mr. Clegg wasn't. Mr. Clegg was just effectively a corporate puppet for Evans that didn't really spend any money on any decent players anyway. But Mr. Ashton's vision is that he's reconnected the club with the fans, that we haven't seen really since around about the 2005-06 mark. And I still remember that 2004-05 season very well, very fondly, with the fantastic goal scoring talents of Shifky Kuki and Darren Bent and Tommy Miller. I absolutely love that season. That season, holds a bit of a nice special place in my heart. And thirdly, about the way that we're playing our football. When you look back, for example, it's just an example, back to the 2000s, where Barcelona and Leo Messi was probably at the top of their superpower, is that the way that they were playing football, what that did was it filtered then onto most of the other top clubs in Europe who then wanted to play a similar sort of style of football. And I think it's quite like that at the top level, that you do get coaches and managers with an idea of the way they want to play football, and then you end up with clubs a bit lower down the pyramid trying to want to emulate it. And I think, for my liking, I think Lee Anderson said it earlier this season, that what we've effectively got is we've got a sort of a Manchester United way of playing football that Kieran McKenna has kind of sort of developed himself, when he was with the coaching staff of Manchester United, in my opinion, is the way that I see it. And I've seen there are a few other Premier League clubs that try and play it the same way out from the back, and I see that on Match of the Day. Those are the 3 quick points that I wanted just to mention to begin with. Great points.
Okay, so you say to begin with, what else is on your mind this evening before we go to Fleetwood?
Okay, so
one more thing.
Signing George Hurst is going to be a priority. I was disappointed not to see Leicester beat Everton the other night. So that penalty miss was actually quite costly for them. I don't know how much money we will have in the summer spend. I would have probably imagined it's probably around about £10 million mark. Next season, for me, I think I would like to see us try and emulate Sunderland and Coventry. I think Coventry have just about managed to secure a playoff place with one game left, and Sunderland could do it on the last day. They're just, I think, a point adrift going into the last day. I think with the current squad, I think Town are capable of pushing for a top 6, but I think for my liking, just to settle perhaps a top 10 or top half finish, consolidate, next season, build on what we've already got, spend money in the right way, and then develop the squad from there, and then we can sort of push on the season after that, I think. But I mean, so I said it the other week that I hate to say this is a bit of a downer, but when you look historically over the last 10 seasons or so with the parachute payments, come down, it does make a big difference to those clubs coming down. They do have bigger playing budgets that they can afford to, give players maybe an extra 5-10 grand a week for that one season. And I think, sadly, probably the best way for Town maybe to get up into Premier League may just be the playoffs again. Sadly, I hate to say that, but it's probably the most likely way of us getting up there. I don't know.
Okay, perfect. Great comments there, Phil. You're a hero. We love you. Look after yourself and stay healthy. Tuck, some good comments there. Obviously, George Hurst, Leicester, George Hurst. I don't actually believe them coming down helps us in the way many fans think it does. I think it makes it a little bit easier. But whether they stay or whether they come down, they're in a little bit of financial hurt that's on the horizon, according to the Athletic article I read. I didn't write it. I definitely read it. Just give myself the writing credit. Would you sign George Hurst, or would you want another proven striker?
I would sign George Hurst, definitely. I think his hold-up play alone is kind of Premier League standard in my head. The only thing I would say is that I do think we probably need another striker, whether that's in place of somebody like Ladapo. And, I think Ladapo gets a lot of flack, under kind of the fan base, certainly this season. Yes, he has scored hatfuls of goals this year, but is he the player to take us forward in the Championship? I'm not so sure. So I would be probably looking maybe as another striker, along with Hurst. But, either way, we're going to need to get another striker, I think. But, would I sign Hurst? Yes, I would. I think you can see just how much he does for the team when he's obviously come, obviously in January, had a bit of a slow start. I don't really think he got as many minutes as he probably wanted. Obviously, Ladapo was then scoring some goals. But, that's the kind of reaction that you want from your striker, is that when somebody else comes in, you want them to see scoring goals. But I think, in my opinion, I would probably say that Hurst is the type of player that we kind of need in the Championship, whereas Ladapo is probably more suited maybe to a League One sort of side. And he's kind of that classic player where he's probably too good for League One, but just not good enough for the Championship potentially. But I'd love him to prove me wrong, but that's kind of my opinion, really.
I agree on the competitiveness. When those two strikers this year now, when Hurst came in, Ladapo went to scoring. He's always wanted to score, but that really competitive drive to push each other on. You want that running throughout the squad, because that's what really propels, as it has done this year, a team into unbelievable form. James with a great point. So glad we're playing clubs that won't be time wasting from minute 5. Peter Graham, when the old North Stand was demolished, it really upset the home atmosphere to the new stand went up, was a factor in relegation from the Premier League. It's great to hear singing in all 4 stands this season. Adam Carroll, what happens next season? We must continue to have fun during the ups, especially in any downs, except up to a point, and enjoy. Mike D. Leicester won't want Hurst. They've got Daka in the show, even Vardy. I know 2 of those names. I don't know the third, but then my Premier League knowledge is it's rubbish. It'll get better now, turning back in the Championship, but it has been a long time since I watched the Premier League religiously. Zurat, look at Hurst's performance on his debut versus Barnsley, night and day. Needs a home, and Coach McKenna offers that. Right, Fleetwood this weekend. The referee is Ross Joyce. 29 games this year for Ross Joyce. 111 yellows, 4 reds, 5 penalties. Refereed Town once this year, or only refereed Town once recently. It was just a 4-0 win against Buxton. I don't remember the ref from that day, which is a good thing for him, but probably more so because we were knocking the goals in for fun. But Fleetwood, they are up next. They are sat in 13th position. If they get a decent result, they could finish as high as 11th in the, which would be a really good finish for Fleetwood. To be fair, I think they really would take that. Last 5 games, as you can see there, lost 1, drawn 1, lost. Their top goal scorer is Mendes Gomez with 8, and the top assists is Phoenix Patterson with 5 assists. Last time out, Mr. Tuxford, 1-1 draw. Luke Wolfenden with our goal, and their equaliser came in the 96th minute, with Josh Earl getting a red card not long after.
Yeah,
what do you expect from? Yeah, I remember that game as well. Horrible little game, wasn't it?
Yeah, there was a pattern of results, I seem to remember, where we kept letting in either late equalisers or just generally late goals. And it was just really, I don't know if it was just a lack of concentration or whatever, but I mean, it doesn't matter because we promoted, but it was just a very frustrating part of that season where I just remember there was lots of games, one
Was
after
that
the other. Where it was
deflected goal?
I
that
think it
day?
was, yeah.
Yeah, well, off Burgess, wasn't it? When it looped
I think
over.
so, yeah.
That was a shot.
The thing is, I can't really remember because there was 3 or 4 of those that happened, and they all sort of merge into one anyway. But I just remember over probably, I think it was like 8 or 9 games worth where we were just like throwing away goals or throwing away leads, certainly anyway. So yeah, it was quite a frustrating point then because that was obviously when it was like the Charlton 4-4, wasn't it? But yeah,
it was. But times are much different. I've got 3 little points I want to sort of get your thoughts on, and then I've got a team of players that haven't been playing that regularly that I think if it was put out on Sunday, what would you say and what would you expect? But first of all, Being Back, just been announced today, will be happening at Portman Road on Sunday. 5,000 tickets on sale tomorrow, or if you're watching this at a later time on Thursday, the 4th of May. 5,000 is a great number. Whether you're going to be a part of it or not, it should be a really good atmosphere, shouldn't it?
Yeah, I think it's always nice when you can do those beanbacks. I think there's only a certain amount that you can do over a season, so I did wonder when they was going to do it. So there's obviously just left it to for the last game of the season. So yeah, it's nice that the fans can hopefully see us, hopefully win the championship. But we'll have to see what Plymouth do.
And there's some talk of away tickets, actual physical away tickets to the game, going for absolute silly money. Expected, surprised it's taken till this point to that become sort of a social media. I can't believe, or are you sort of like I am, a bit disgusted, a bit outraged that we're sort of by all means maybe make a little bit more, but which I'm not condoning at all. But for some of the money, 150 quid, I think I saw someone say. I mean, that's ridiculous. Yeah. Sell for face value or don't sell it at all.
Yeah, I think it is. It's a bit of a joke that is happening. But then, I mean, I went to Barnsley, obviously, this time last week, and you kind of look at like how Barnsley have done. They've done, obviously had a good season. They'll finish in the playoffs, that sort of thing. But their ground wasn't packed at all in terms of where they were. There was essentially like half a stand that no one was sitting in. So I don't know whether some of that is that obviously Fleetwood really haven't got a lot to play for now. So, are they then just going to sell some of those tickets? But yeah, either way, it's a bit of a joke that it's being charged for that much, to be honest.
It is. Now, obviously, the team have gone on an epic party since Saturday, and I don't blame them one bit. I jokingly said on Twitter this morning, Tux, that if somebody's not Sunday morning style chundering on the sideline before the game, I'm going to be bitterly disappointed in this group of players. But what do you expect from this group? Obviously, automatics has been secured. The title is still at stake, albeit not really down to that. They've got to win their game, obviously, but it's more down to what Plymouth do.
Yeah.
What are you expecting from this game? Are you bothered? Are you expecting a total win? Players to,
I think what I'm expecting from the actual overall outcome is that, I can't see Plymouth slipping up now. I think if, they've had such a great season, certainly not one of the favourites to really do what they've done this season. So, I think they've got enough in their locker really to sort of confirm the championship. Whereas us, I think, obviously, will be as professional as ever. Obviously, all the players have been on the sauce recently, but, why not? You've had such a great season. Quite frankly, like for me, as long as we're promoted, that to me is the main thing. If we win the championship, it's only a bonus. So, I think it's the fact that we are promoted, we're back in the championship was always the main goal. It doesn't matter how you go up, just get up. And if we can do it, great. But as I said, I just think that Plymouth have got enough about them. I just can't see them losing and letting that slip. On the last game of the season. So they'll be more than up for
away. They've got, which have got nothing to play for, except their last home game. But you got some good points. Yeah, it's down to Plymouth. Let's see what happens with them. You fully expect an unchanged team, correct?
Yeah.
I fully expect an unchanged team, but I thought, where's the fun in that? So I put together a 1 to 11 of players that haven't featured recently. This is the team: Haladki, Danassian, Wolfenden, Keogh, Lee, Morsey, Ball, Jackson, Harness, Edwards, and Big Freddie Ladapo. If that was the team on Sunday, if McKenna said, right, we are promoted, I would like to win the title. This is, but I want to give a couple of run outs to players that have been a vital part of the squad that haven't played recently. I don't expect him to for 1 minute. But if this was the 11, what would your thoughts be Sunday lunchtime?
Well, I mean, it's still a side that's enough to win the game. But having said that, it's not about kind of giving players run out. And I know obviously Halagi came on for Walton in the second half, but generally this is football, isn't it? It's not meant to be sentimental. You're not meant to have kind of favourites in that sense. So really, you go with what the team that has actually led you to this point, especially since kind of February, March time. This is the team that has got us promoted. So if anything, they deserve to play kind of the last game of the season. And you'll probably see maybe a couple of changes potentially, but generally I think someone like Cameron Humphreys potentially, he could come in maybe for a Luongo or something like that. But generally I think if you've got the chance to win the championship, albeit it's in Plymouth's kind of hands if you like, but we still have to win the game. So surely you'd be putting your best team out to achieve that. So I don't think there's really any kind of room for sentiment in that sense. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if he changes it a little bit here and there. But generally, I'll just be going with the same side.
I'm with you, and I'm with Adam. I think he'll play a full strength and demand 100% no let up. But what I found interesting putting this little team together was just the sort of strength. Marcus Harness cost money, big player for Portsmouth last year. Ball and Morsey, obviously Ball was a championship player last year. Morsey's your captain. Jackson, interest from the championship not so long ago, scores goals at League One level. Big Fred's got 20 goals. Edwards is a player with untapped potential. Greg Lee, one of the statistically best left backs, why we brought him in from in the summer. Wolf, and then obviously has been in your mainstay. Danasian, a player that costs money for Town. Like I say, there is the depth there. So even though it's not traditionally your more stronger 11, it's still for League One standards, a very competitive 11. That just goes to show that we've all said we've got depth in number and strength in depth, but seeing it on the paper like that really sort of it blew me away a little bit. That's just how strong this squad has been as a 22-man.
Yeah, I mean it's a decent. If that was a starting 11 for say a Fleetwood, that's quite a decent sort of 11 you've got there. But when you actually then think about where we're going now, we're going into the championship, and you kind of look at some of those players, and yes, some of it is kind of sort of strength in depth, but then you look at players like Keogh's, pretty much on his last legs. There's other players in there that certainly probably wouldn't play minutes for us in the championship, I wouldn't have thought. So it'll be interesting to see who kind of stays from that kind of fringe squad, if you like. Because I'd expect that, the 11 that's been playing recently will all obviously stay. But then you've got to look at kind of the squad, because if you're looking to bring in new players to strengthen the side, and obviously some of those players have got to leave, haven't they? So, you are kind of probably looking at maybe like a Harness might go, a Jackson might go.
Vincent Young, who obviously I didn't mention there.
Vincent Young,
because the squad's that big.
Yeah, so and let's not forget, when Vincent Young signed, we all thought he was the best thing since sliced bread. So
we did.
It's funny how football can change, but yeah, I mean, looking at that squad now, and obviously with a couple of names in there that we've kind of missed out, but generally it's a decent League One side, but obviously, strength in depth that probably won't look as strong. Obviously, once we get into the play championship football.
Absolutely, Tuck. It's been a pleasure talking with you. I've got one last thing as to play as we leave. Came courtesy of Twitter, Simon Young's Twitter account. It was from the Player Awards, which we'll have more of on Friday night, 8:30. We're live for the last Friday night show of the season. Myself, Matt, and Rich. I'll have more of this because Rich was there on the night. But it's that boy Greg Lee who's just got unlimited. I'd forgotten just how much of a tune that song was.
Yeah, it's a banger. Is it Mario that sings that?
Oh, that's a good question. I'll have to look that
Yeah,
up.
I think
I
it's
don't know.
Marriott. Yeah.
I don't know. But there we go.
Yeah.
Cole says, Tux, give us a rendition.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not, he says. Right. That man there is the peaky one, Mark Tuxford. I'm the Gov. We're back on Friday. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for being a part of Talking Town throughout the season on a Wednesday. But it is the last Wednesday night match
Can I
day
just
live.
say one thing? One thing, Gov. Obviously, on behalf of all of us, thank you for obviously this season. Obviously, all the contributors as well, in terms of Crunch and Matt and everyone else, because you have really brought us all together. Obviously, from COVID, but also you've given us a bit of a heartbeat of the club as well. So I thought it'd just be worth saying thanks to that as well.
Thanks. I really appreciate that. Thanks ever so much. I thought I stopped having my eyes sweat from the weekend, but apparently not. God, I didn't know you were going to do that. Thanks ever so much. I can end the show now. I don't know what to say. Thank you.
You make me smile when I think of you. If I get down low and I get blue, I can't get enough. Oh, yes, you make me happy, I feel so fine. Oh, how I wish that you were mine. I can't get enough. Oh, yes, oh, please, lover. I woke up all soaked in sweat, weird chills running down my neck. I thought went crazy from just the thought of you. A long